2. Welcome to Social Media Superchargers with Carly Alyssa Thorne and Lynn O'Connell. Today we're talking about why it's time to supercharge your Google Plus page and how to do it. But first we're going to talk about why, because that's a question we're hearing a lot from people. Is we're already in Facebook. In fact, we have a nice lady here to show us. This is what we hear. Everybody's on Facebook. So why should I bother with Google Plus? Well, here's the answer. 500 million people are using Google Plus. And the reality is that a good percentage of those people are your customers and prospects. So what you need to think about is that, and this is where it gets, you can't think about Facebook and Google Plus the same way. Facebook is a social network. It's sort of self-contained. They're trying to expand it in a variety of ways with their search graph and whatnot. But Google Plus is a whole way of being, I guess. What Google has done is they have integrated Google Plus into every single Google action. So basically, if you use YouTube, Gmail, Zagat, review a business, click a G Plus button. If you simply click a G Plus button on someone's web page, Google believes you're a Google Plus user. So and they're collecting that information, and you may even have a Google Plus page you don't even know about that you haven't activated. I'm sorry, a personal profile, not a business page. So in other words, Google is determined that you are going to be on Google Plus. So the only real question here is whether you're going to control what people see about your business or whether you're going to let Google control it, which seems to me like a no-brainer. Again, they're building integration into all their products. They have 500 million users through these various channels. But another key thing, 235 million people are active users. That means they're going into Google Plus, and 135 million are chatting in the stream and whatever. So, and we know, we're all on Facebook every day. You don't need another fan page to manage. We're all suffering from that. And Carly, I think this is something you've heard from people too, that it's like we just don't want another thing. But
it's true. People are tired of managing all of social media, and more they're even outsourcing the social media because there's so many platforms. However, Google is vital. It's vital because when people Google you in the search engines, if you have a Google Plus page, the posts that you put up, the YouTubes that you put up will come up in the Google search.
Exactly. And so it's huge. So the way to think about it is Google Plus is not Facebook. You don't have to move all your friends to Google Plus. You don't have to, interact in Google Plus the exact same way you do in Facebook. They're two different things. But you do need, as a fan page or business owner, you need to understand that both help you reach your customers. And there's one really interesting thing I found when we were researching this. One of the Google execs said, basically, Google Plus is Google. So if we think about that for a minute, Google Plus is Google. I mean, how often do you interact with Google? Just in a day. If you use Chrome, you're on it right now. If you have Gmail, you're interacting with your email. If you go to YouTube, if you...
Blogger. How many people have bloggers?
Right. If you're on a blogger blog, if you use Google Maps, if you... Pretty much, I don't even know if it's possible. And now I'm an Apple person, so I'm not using Android, but aside from that, I'm using an awful lot of these Google systems. So I suspect that you are too, and that it's a pretty safe bet that your customers are as well.
The other thing I want to bring up before I forget about Google search, which is vitally, vitally important in terms of social media, online reputation management, it is vital that you Google yourself once a week to see what's going on. Because if you let something linger out there for too long, it's really hard to get it taken down. I Google myself, or I have my assistant Google my name, Carly A. Thorne, Carly Alyssa Thorne, to see what's out there. And it's also a metric to see how well you're doing in social media. If you're coming up on the first 3 pages of however you're Googling a specific either target keyword or your business, it's going to tell you if you're getting out there. And again, that's the thing about also putting things when you're doing blog posts or anything. You have to put your tag names. You have to put your name in there because, again, people aren't always going to remember Direct. They're going to remember Lynn O'Connell. So every time you post something, every time, especially in terms of posts on Blogger or anything you're posting on a website, make sure, or even on YouTube, my YouTube tags are always Carly A. Thorne, Carly Alyssa Thorne, on top of the subject matter and whoever I'm interviewing or what have you. Exactly. It's vitally important that you have your names in those tags.
And it's especially now, my partner and I, my company name is O'Connell Meyer. I'm Lynn O'Connell. My husband and business partner is Richard Meyer, who is also a really famous architect. So, not my husband, the famous architect. So my husband, you can, if you Google Richard Meyer, spelled the way he spells his name, you come up with the famous architect pretty much no matter what we do. Now, unless you add marketing. But with myself, the peculiarity we have is there's only something like 6 Lynn O'Connells in the whole world, but one of them lives in Alexandria, Virginia, just like I do, and works in nonprofit marketing, just like I do. So going back to Carly's point about making sure you Google yourself, you monitor how your posts are coming up and what's coming up, that's one of the things I need to do, and I need to be very careful with my tags to make sure that people find me and not the other Lynn O'Connell, although, interestingly, I've never met. She sounds nice, but anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about some of that. But again, this just goes back to Google Plus gives you a way to control what people are seeing. It's here, it's everywhere, and it's time for you to supercharge it. So let's get started. Okay, this is an easy one. When you think of Google, you think of search. We've already started talking about search. We've jumped ahead of ourselves. And close to 70% of all search is still through Google. You know, Facebook is trying to integrate with Bing. There's all kinds of other things going on. But for now, Google is ruling this. And your Google page helps you control what people see. And I'm going to show you how right now. Okay, this is what happens if you Google me, Lynn O'Connell. My LinkedIn comes up, whatever. But this little box over here, which it doesn't actually have the blue thing around it on Google, but I put that around so that you could see everything in that box was drawn from Google+. It's picked up who I am, what I say about myself, a recent post. All of it came from my page. I've also seen, and Carly, I'm sure you've seen this as well, when you have a blog post that you cross-post to Google and it's an active one that gets a lot of attention, that will also hop up to your first page of results. And if you have your authorship set up properly, which we're not going to go into today, it'll also come up with your picture, and it's another way to get the right content out there. But without doing any authorship setup or anything, simply set up your Google Plus page for both yourself and your business or your hobby or community, whatever you have a fan page for, and you then take control of this hugely. I mean, just look at how much space is of this results screen is in my control because it's coming out of my Google Plus page. So, okay, moving on. As we move to the how-to, the, how to, 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 the, how actual setup is pretty easy, and I'm going to run through this really fast, and then when we get into some tougher topics, I'm going to pull Carly in for her wisdom. But the first thing, if you don't have a page on Google+, time to get one. So it's very simple. We've given you a link in the PDF. It's a 3-step process. You pick what kind of business you are. Once you pick the, or you don't have to be a business. You can be an organization, a brand, whatever. It'll, depending what you pick, it'll ask you for a little bit of information. You fill that in, and then it will take you to, I forget exactly what order this happens in, but one of the things it will ask you to do is to display a profile picture. Now, their profile pictures, this is a little peculiar. You upload it at a 250 by 250 pixel size. It displays at 120 by 120 and at a reduced 46 by 46. I'm telling you that because what that means is you need to create it large, but you need to be prepared for it to shrink down. So don't use that space for a lot of detailed graphics. And then the other critical thing is in their recent change, they've made this into a circle. Now that's a challenge. Like if you look at the Social Media SuperChargers logo, it's in the shape of a shield, which doesn't exactly fit nicely into a circle. And as you go through Google+, you'll see a lot of people still wrestling with how to make that work. But that's what Google's done, and we all will need to deal with it. However, the square shape still shows in the newsfeed, so that is good news, I guess. Okay, another two big changes. One is that your cover photo, but well, not just, but is now much bigger. You can go to 2120 by 1192 pixels. The part that is an even more recent change is that high resolution. That's allowing you to put really a better than printed quality photo or image or group of images up there. Now that's an incredible benefit for brands, for photographers, for anyone who has really high quality images to display. It can be a little bit of a challenge for you though if your artwork is not as high quality. So what you're going to want to do is use one of the many sites we've listed in the group in order to create your art to the correct size, export it at highest quality because Google is going to display it at that quality, and you can, I've lost my train of thought.
High res. Basically, by making sure that you use one of those sites and you import it in a way. I know PNGs are great for having things pop more. The file name PNG versus JPEG. And basically, by doing that, when they upload it, it'll be in that same high resolution.
Exactly, and I know what I was going to say. With all of the Retina displays and the high quality monitors that people have, it's a huge opportunity. It's also a trap if you're not careful. The trap would be their minimum 480 by 270 pixels. Don't do it. What they're going to do is blow it up, and it's going to look
it distorts it. Yeah.
Pixelated. Yeah, it's nasty, so just don't do that. Okay. So now what you do want to do is start thinking about supercharging your Google Plus brand page. And I'm going to turn this to Carly in a second, but essentially a lot of the same principles we talked about for Facebook, for YouTube apply here. You want someone to look at your page and in a glance have a feel for what you do, who you are, why they should call you. You can see in these examples, Travelocity is actually a very interesting example because they've used their little gnome that they use in their TV ads and whatever. They've got a Go and Smell the Roses theme that is conveying, live your life, go out there and do it. And then they've got a couple of photos of destinations. So they've, in a fairly literal way that's also clean and attractive, have used that space to tell their story. Coca-Cola, on the other hand, has gone for that kind of historic, we've been around for 110 years or whatever, and again, very appropriate for their brand because Coca-Cola is something that people feel a strong attachment to. Now, one thing I just wanted to show you before I turn this over to Carly to talk about more things to think about when supercharging your page is we've included a link here under Did You Know? And you want to click that link because Google is now allowing you to upload GIFs. And what that means is you can even animate your cover page. Now, if you click on the example, it's going to take you to, I think it's Ogilvy, South Africa, which is ad agency site. And basically, they show you a little animation using their cover page space. Now, you may not know how to do that yourself, but that's something that if it's something that makes sense for you, there are sites like Fiverr or whatever where you may be able to find someone who can do it. But on that note, let me hand this off to Carly to start talking about all of the great insight that she brings.
So a couple things about Google. The biggest thing, again, is like she said, it's all about, now I also want to make a distinction about brand page and personal page. I use them, as a matter of fact, I personally haven't done a brand page because everyone kind of knows me. And so, again, some people don't want another page to handle. There are advantages to having a brand page, and that is more to what she's talking about, where you have a little more flexibility with what you want to do with your graphic in terms of doing that extra, loading up GIFs. You can't do it on a personal profile. So there are benefits to having a brand page. So you kind of need to pick and choose your battles when it comes to that. You may just want to have a personal page. You may want to have just a brand page, or you might have both the and. The biggest thing on this is like right now I'm redoing my graphic because, as she said, when you do blow it up, it does pixelate. It just looks distorted a little bit. And it's not as crisp and as clean as I would like it. And as you look at these two, they're very crisp and very clean because they're very high resolution. And she is absolutely correct with the new Retina displays and people using larger and larger screens and laptops, or even on the Retina displays on an iPad. You really do want the clean, crisp visual. So that is really vitally important. And I think we should actually move ahead because that's more of the stuff that I would like to talk about in terms of when they're going to get into their profiles. And the other thing on the back one that she had, just like on YouTube where you can have the superimposed links, you'll notice now on the profiles, if you go back one more slide actually, you'll see that you'll see it right where her name is, there literally is like a little encapsulated, do you know what I'm saying? Can you see what I'm talking about, Lynn?
Yes. This is pulled from
right.
On
the personal, what I'm saying though is, see how now they actually have the print on there? They didn't have that before. So that's also something that's new.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
that's picking up
yes.
information from my personal. Now, when you look at the brand pages, it doesn't
right,
do
exactly.
the same thing. It just picks up one line, I think, for them. But that's definitely an opportunity. And I think on the difference between brand and personal, if you're an independent consultant or if you're someone like Carly who's known as Carly, I think using just one page is totally fine. Unlike Facebook where they make it really awkward for you to do that. Google, but through their circles, it makes that very viable. Now, for me, though, I have O'Connell Meyer, which is my company. I have, we now have SuperChargers, which we're setting up a G+ page for. I have the Feline Foundation. So I have a bunch of brand pages that I'm starting to deal with. And just like all of you, I've actually been pretty active on Google Plus as a person. As a company, I have not been as diligent as I need to be, which is actually part of what inspired this presentation. Is I needed to go figure this all out for myself, to motivate myself to do the best and to be the best example for the group. So we're happy to share that information with you. On the About tab, now here's something I found going through this. They've changed it now for brands at least. They're calling it your story, tell your story, which is interesting. It gives you, they say 10 words. They actually let you do a little bit more than that for a tagline. And then you can put in a description where you could tell whatever story you want to tell, whether that's the background of your company. For me, I chose to focus on what we do, who we work for, why you should hire us. But the interesting thing to be aware of here is that I had done that before for my O'Connell Meyer page, and it was all gone. And I believe the reason for that is because they changed the fields. Now, or maybe I just got unlucky, but definitely if you already have a page, a brand page, check it to make sure that your contact information and your descriptions are still there. Another key thing is that you can add links to pretty much as many websites as you want. Now, that's important for several reasons. One, it helps people find you on other platforms, which is excellent. You want people to be able to engage with your business wherever they like to engage. So take the time, put in your Twitter page, your Facebook page, your Instagram, whatever you're engaging on. In addition, this is good for you because all of those things help benefit your SEO just a little bit. You know, one of the things with search engine optimization is recognition from a highly recognized site. Well, you don't get much more highly recognized than Google itself. So this is a very good place for you to list all of your links and all of your sites.
Another key thing on adding all your links, make sure you check to see that your links work. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a See Me profile or I've gone to whatever profile it is, and people have all these long lists of links and half of them don't work. And now here's the other thing. If you go to someone's page and a link doesn't work, inbox the people. I don't know how many people see a link that's broken and they don't do anything about it. It's like, not my problem, next. Well, you know, you want someone to do that for you, so do that for somebody else. If you see a link is broken, inbox the person. Either, you know, you can do it on Google, you can, if you know them on Facebook, you can do it on Facebook, but take the opportunity to help other people out. And if you see something that's not right, you know, let them know. And take the time, I can't emphasize this enough, every month you must check your links across your profiles. They get disconnected, something happens. I mean, it happens on so many things. Clout, they get disconnected. Empire, they get disconnected. So this isn't just a Google thing. This is across all of your social media. Check your settings. Check your links.
And again, if I hadn't been putting this presentation together, and even knowing that Google had rolled out new features, it didn't occur to me that it would have unlinked things that were already there, because I had already done that once. So you've got to be.
And that's part of the problem. We get complacent, we forget, and we have like 20 different platforms, and you have to take the time, mark it on the calendar. Once a month you check out your Google profile. You know, however many platforms you have, you can, I don't know, you can make a schedule for that. And that's what I do. Like, I only do Quora like twice a week. I only do certain other platforms. I go in like every 2 weeks and bang them out. I'll do all my Scoop Its, I'll do my Quora. And as a matter of fact, a really good tool, by the way, we have browsers. And you can put little pins on top of your browsers. So you can put, you know, your Hooklet pin, your pin it, post to Quora, Scoop It, share on Tumblr. The wonderful thing about Chrome and all these browsers now is it gives you the ability to add these little pins on top of your browser to remind you to share it on G+, to share it here, to share it here. Use those tools that are available to you.
That's an excellent point. And I mean, pin it all the time. Because, I mean, one of my things is collecting infographics on all the social media topics. So I have Pin It, I have Scoop It, I have, you know, all of those things are right across the top of my browser. And it saves a ton of time, because rather than...
And it is a constant visual reminder, too.
Exactly. So, okay, once you get your page up, you need to start posting things on it. And you can post very similar to Facebook. You can post videos, slide shares, photos and pic quotes, links to useful articles. Very similar. Google is not as restrictive with sizes and some of those things as Facebook is. Well, there are some limitations. We don't go into them in great length in this presentation since we're focused on setting up your setting you up. But the key thing is you have all kinds of content. Put it into your mind that you want to start making sure you include it on Google+. And here's a key thing. Google+ tells us that they favor content posted within the last 72 hours in their Google searches. So when I was talking before and I showed you my Google search page, it was coming up with, I don't know, it was a pin that somebody had pinned me in. Now, if I had posted something of a business nature more recently than that, that would have come up, which would be better for me. So I need to make sure, and I would share this advice with all of you, to make sure that as you think about your Google+ content, the fact that it is going to be coming up in your Google searches is something to think seriously about, because, you know, on Facebook, I share some goofy things sometimes, and as Carly knows, I violate her main advice and have political arguments and the like. I don't do that on Google+, because Google+ is going to show up in my search results.
Yeah.
Now,
go ahead.
People would be okay with that.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not. But so, and another thing you can extrapolate from this is, at minimum, go to Google+ every 72 hours, which is, what, 3 days?
I do want to address what Lynn said, though. That is really, I mean, I can't emphasize how big this is. I mean, I hammer this home all the time about people's Facebook pages, and people ignore it. However, on Google, you cannot take this lightly. Posting jokes that other people are going to take offensive, because here's the thing, and I'm going to mention something that happened recently. A friend of a friend posted something on their wall, and somebody else came back with a comment that I personally was shocked at, okay? Now, if you do something like that on Google, you got to remember, when you post a picture or an image and somebody else comes back with some comment that's offensive, what do you think the other comments are going to be like? And that's what people don't fail to understand. And so when I mentioned it to the person, they said to me, well, that's social media censorship. And I was kind of going like, really? That's censorship? Because bottom line, when someone comes to visit my pages, I am the example of how they're going to treat my pages. If I don't have curse words, if I don't have overtly sexual, overtly religious, overtly political streams on my feed, on my Facebook wall, they're not going to place it on my wall because they don't see that on my wall. If I'm on Google and I post something that's inappropriate, and somebody else comes in and posts something that's inappropriate, the stream, it becomes like a Pandora's box of comments coming in. And see, on Facebook, you're getting the notifications more readily. We tend to check our Facebook pages more readily. If you're not checking your Google until every 72 hours, or you're not going to your Google Plus page every day, and you post some of these things that might be arbitrarily, not. Okay, I'll give you an example of a picture. There was a picture that was posted on Facebook recently where a baby was held up in the middle of the air with headphones over its ears, and it was screaming, crying, and it said, "Babies," or something, "love rock concerts." So it was literally a picture of a huge crowd with, thousands of people, and it was a rock concert, and they have a baby held up in the air with headphones on. Do you know how many comments got bashed on, moms? Like, oh my God, that's not funny. That's child abuse. You have an infant held up in the air with headphones on. It's supposed to protect the baby's ear, and the baby's wailing. You post something that on Google, and it goes viral, and people are, putting comment after comment after comment, and you're not catching that right away, and it comes up in your searches, it's going to hurt you. And I don't believe monitoring my walls is censorship. I believe that's good business sense. By me moderating my Google, by me monitoring the searches, by me monitoring my walls, I'm telling people what I choose to surround myself with, what my philosophies are, what my belief systems are, what I hold true for me. And so that's what people are buying from you. You are what they're buying. They're buying Lynn. They're buying the Feline Foundation. They're buying her own direct. So when they go to Lynn's pages, what she posts is telling them what type of person she is in a way, and that's either going to repel them or attract them.
Right, right. And we're going to talk about Google Circles in a few minutes, which as with Facebook, you have the ability to limit who sees your content. We've been talking here assuming that you're posting your content publicly, because for your business purpose, you want to post it publicly. If for some reason, though, you wanted to have a side conversation with your sister where you were, I don't know, arguing about crazy relatives, you could make that private and only the two of you would see it. But, you know, again, since we're talking about business purposes, we're talking about what you need to think about for public posts.
And I want to address what she just said real quickly. Here's the thing: if you don't have public posts, people are not going to share your content. It is a pain. If I go to a post and it says limited sharing, I won't even share it, because I have to then click open the share circles, and then I got to choose what circles I want to share it to. If it's a public post, all I got to do is hit click, share, and I'm done. And all of my pre-made little boxes, which will show, come up, and it's an easy share. If I have to go through all the trouble having to click every little box, and I have about 20 boxes, I'm not going to share it. So for me, every single post I do on my personal page is all public, period. Because I want people to share my content. I don't want to put them out to have to take extra steps to share my stuff. The purpose of social media, in my point of view, is engagement and sharing. And we're going to make it difficult for people to share. Why are they going to share our content?
Exactly. And it seems obvious, but it's something that a lot of people are resisting. And I think it comes out of privacy concerns. And again, no one is saying to make pictures of your baby public. You know, you have controls, you can use controls, but we're talking about in the context of the things that you're posting to promote yourself as a social media entity, your business as a business entity. If you're posting content that you want shared, it's got to be public, or else what's the point? So, okay, you want to get a few things on your page before you actively start recruiting fans. So, which leads us to our next slide, which is something that I hear all the time. You know, how will I get fans? Google Plus is a ghost town. And you see this on the net, too. There's people continually saying, oh, Google Plus is dead, oh, there's nothing happening in there. But that's really not true. What happens is if you're not in people's circles, and particularly if they're not posting publicly, you're not seeing anything. You go to Google Plus and it looks like nothing's going on. The reality is there are gazillions of active users, well, 500 million going back to the beginning, but there are very active users, active discussions, and I would say there are discussions that are more intellectual perhaps than what you see on Facebook, and not to insult anyone on Facebook, but you see people getting into philosophy and, you know, all kinds of more in-depth discussions. But that's because they've created a circle of philosophers or whatever they may be into. Now, what you do is circles are basically lists of people you choose to connect with. You can share posts with just one circle, with all your circles, or with the public. And again, we've been saying this, if you want your content shared, make it public. Now, what's different between Facebook and Google Plus is you can put someone in your circle without them putting you back. So it's not like sending a friend request in Facebook where they have to accept your friend request. You simply put them in your circle. Some of them will reciprocate by circling you back, some won't, and that's all fine. But enough will circle you back that you will gradually build up groups of people who are interested, who you have common interests with. And we've shown it's a little bit small, but you'll see a circle in your lower right, and it says add circle. People put together circles of top experts in various fields. You'll see that on Google+. You also can go to Google and just do a search for, you can search on the top 500 photographers, the top marketing experts, the top social media experts, whatever you may be interested in. And there are people who've already done the work to pull out active Google+ participants who are producing content you're likely to be interested in. So that's a great way to get started. And you'll also see people doing these things called snowball circles, where the idea is that everyone adds themselves and then you get shared and you gradually increase your numbers that way. Again, we've talked about this before. I'm not a big fan of having numbers just for the sake of having numbers. So I'll tend to participate in those only when the people are people I'm interested in. It's a social media snowball or something. Because there's really no great benefit to me of having 10,000 fans just for the sake of having 10,000 fans if they're not interested, or if I don't find them interesting, I guess would be the other thing.
The other thing people need to know about is there's also, like in Facebook, we have groups. Google Plus has communities. So there's lots and lots of communities. You can do a search in the community section for things you're interested in. And a lot of those communities are extremely active. And again, with Google Hangouts. So there's, famous speakers, they are actually having Google Hangouts once a week about marketing, about social media, or Author 101, or types of things like that. So there's lots of ways for you to be engaged in your specific niches, and the biggest ways for that are the communities or the Google Hangouts.
Absolutely, and I think what I've seen, I was involved on Google Plus as an individual from very early. And what I found is that I was interacting with people who I would never have run into on Facebook or out on the street, and because you're participating in the discussion, they end up talking to you, and you gain information and knowledge and connections. So just like you'll hear us talk about this with every social media thing we talk about, it's all about interaction. The more you put in, the more you get out. So, you want to join communities, you want to join circles, you want to follow people, you want to comment on interesting things. If you see someone sometimes you'll see Google Hangouts where people will just say, come talk about X, and it'll be starting right now. You'll see others that are scheduled in advance that you can join. And you can also start a Google Hangout. You can use it to video chat with your colleagues, your friends, or your family. There are also ways to broadcast to larger groups. You're limited to 10. It's you and 9 of your colleagues for a classic Google Hangout. But you'll see, big name people will do ones that have much bigger audiences. You also have that capability, and it's a combination of YouTube and Google and whatnot. And the Google site tells you how to do it if you're so inspired to check that out. But it definitely gives you so many ways to connect to people, to find common interest and common ground, and a steady flow of information on the topics you care about. And that's really what this all comes down to. It's what you care about, what you're interested in, what you want to focus on. So, okay, now that your page is up, you want to tell the world that you're on G+. If you've chosen the profile route, like Carly's talked about, you use an I'm on G+. And what this does is if you go to the link that we have here on the page, and Google will give you the HTML code that you can copy, and you can put that into whether it's your blog or your website or whatever. And that badge allows people to follow you right from your page and that's where, when we were talking earlier about how Google Plus is integrated into everything Google does, I don't have to stop when I'm at Carly's blog and say, oh, I want to add Carly on Google, go to Google Plus, open Google, and add her to a circle. All I have to do is click on her badge and click Add to Circles, and I'm done. And then the next time I go to Google Plus, lo and behold, she would be there. Same basic principle for a Google Play page, except they change from I to We're. So we're on G+, and they use follow instead of add to circles. And you also have, you can +1 a page directly from their page. So let's say you're on Carly's blog, and, well, she doesn't have a page. Let's say you're on somebody's blog who has a blog.
It doesn't matter. If you're on my website, there's a +1 button. Anybody can have, even if you don't have a page, anyone can have a +1 button. All it does is it just basically means that they +1 your page. Because I have it on my website, and it does. It is a +1 button. It makes it easy for people to, it shows how it's been shared, and it can be a +1 share. Yeah, I mean, +1 buttons are great.
We'll talk about the sharing part in a second. So definitely add your icons and add them intelligently. You want to think carefully about where you put your badges on your page, and Carly's going to talk to you about why you want to make sure you put it in the right place.
Okay, so here's the problem. Not everybody has 20-inch screens. Some people are on a 15-inch laptop. Okay, so the problem is if you have your G+ button, and this actually is from a site that I went to, and if you look at where the purple arrow is to the red there, it says G+. If you have your G+ button all the way in the middle of your page, they will not be able to hit the share button. As you see, it's cut off at the bottom. You want your G+ button as high as possible on your website. I mean, literally the first or second thing. Because, for example, as you see, I have a lot of boxes. I have a lot of circles. I have public, entertainment, a lot. If you just have 3 different boxes, public, social media friends, and acquaintances, that's only 3 boxes. But the people that have a lot of boxes, the minute they click on the G+ button, you have to understand, the minute you hit the G+ button, it drops that box down. Okay, then you have to hit share. Well, if you can't reach the share button, it doesn't work. You can't hit enter. I've attempted it. You hit enter, it doesn't share it. You have to hit the share button. So you really want to have that G+ button all the way at the top of your pages. It's huge, because otherwise people are going to get frustrated and they're going to give up. I know I've given up. I've had to move the browser to my big screen to share. If it's on my laptop, on my 15-inch, it won't share. If I go to my 21-inch, I have to open the browser to make it big, to scroll it down. I mean, it's work. It's not. I just want to close the window and say next.
And that's something also to be aware of on blogs. A lot of, the trend right now is for the line of links down the left of the blog that sort of slide over for you to share at individual blog posts.
Those are horrible. Those are even worse.
Exactly. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone saying, okay, I'm going to G+ this, and I just can't do it. I can't, it won't stay, it slides off, and I've got a big screen. So, but some people, I don't know if it's a certain popular template that a lot of people are using, but where they've got it where it's all the way on the edge of their screen, so you can barely grab it, and then you can't get to.
And it won't stay open.
The share button.
Yeah.
So you really need to think about how people are using it and what you want to do. And even though it's cool and trendy, and it looks cool to have the icons just barely popping out the side of your screen. And don't get me wrong, it works on some sites, but make sure it works on yours.
Right. And I would say, honestly, I prefer the ones that, here's the thing, the first 3 top platforms are what? Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, maybe, okay? And so I have the add-on button where it is one button that'll bring up like a box where you can search any platform you want. However, I do have Facebook and Twitter and G+ as an individual button, because those are the first 3 sought-out ones. And then I have another button that says Add All, and then they click on that, it'll bring up like, a zillion different ones. However, the biggest ones you care about, generally, for most people, are Facebook, Twitter, G+, and for some people, if you're business-to-business, LinkedIn. I would take the time to have those individual buttons for those, and then right below that have the add-on button. But the one that slides out to the side, I personally wouldn't advise any of my clients to use it, because I've just seen it time and time again where it doesn't work.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, make sure that you test it and you work with somebody who knows how to make it work. So, okay, a couple of basic things we just want to go over quickly before we end. Google, unlike Facebook, you can get what's called a vanity URL. So I have, facebook.com/O'Connell-Meyer.
Now, you can get a Google Plus URL. You can get a vanity one, but you have to go. It's not through Google. It's through a sub company. In other words, what she's saying is right. On Facebook, when you sign up, you can get your vanity plate, if you will. On Google, they have a few different sites you can go to get that. That it's not as simple as it is on Facebook.
Exactly. So what you have to do is either take the time to go set it up with one of the other sites that have sort of stepped in to fill the void, or you need to make sure that when you share your page link, you actually share your page link. And this is something Carly's encountered, so we've shown you right and wrong ways to do this. And Carly, I think you should talk this through, because this is something you've...
Yeah, the biggest difference is that most people know there's something called a feed link. So if someone, like when you sign up to see someone's blog, you can read it. It's a very different feed than your personal feed. So your you want people to go to your profile, because your profile's got your pictures, got your information, etc. Okay. So on the left-hand side is the link to my post. Now I do have a vanity URL. The reason why I don't use it when I put it in different social media groups or what have you is because sometimes they're broken. So if you want to know 100% guarantee that's always going to work, I use the google.com specific post link, okay? Now, if I give someone the feed link by mistake, they're going to get this version on the right where it is specifically meant for reading, and it's much harder to plus one, it's much harder to comment, it's much harder to share, it's time consuming. Every time you hit a button, it brings it up. Versus if you're on a page, you can scroll down, like, comment, share, and you'll see the main difference is if you provide a feed link, it'll look like this black bar, and it'll have 3 lines, like literally like a book line. So it's meant to read. So that's what it looks like. It looks like a feed link. And so it doesn't take you to the person's profile. They're not seeing your face. They're not seeing images of you. And bottom line for me anyways, I want people going to my profile page because it's going to give them a lot more information. It's a lot more user-friendly. It's meant for social engagement. Versus the feed link is meant for anti-engagement. It's meant for you to read, and like you're reading a book or reading a stream, or however you want to talk about it.
You're going into like your RSS reader or something.
Exactly what it is, and you can tell because on this one you'll say post, and it'll have .com/u, but on the other side it'll say app, APP. If you see APP in those 3 lines, you're totally in the wrong place. It's the feed.
Yes, that's just a quick tip. And then another thing, we're just going to quickly show you how to share a specific post. That's another thing we've seen some people don't, it's not necessarily intuitive. Now it's a little light, but at the bottom of this post, what you'll see is there's a +1. And on Google+, +1 is how you say like. It's the equivalent of a Facebook like is a +1. And then next to it is a little arrow. So to share a post within Google+, you click the arrow. What happens is a screen's going to pop up, and it's going to ask you, where do you want to share this? So you can pick your circles, you can pick a community or a group of communities, and depending on your settings, that will typically also add it to your page. I say depending on your settings because you can also choose, if you're in an active community where there are a lot of discussions going on, you can use your Google Plus settings to make sure that community posts don't go to your page. So, but for most of you, it's going to go to your page. Now, there are times where you're going to want to share your posts outside Google Plus. So whether you want to put a post on your website, on your blog, you want to run an Empire Avenue mission, whatever it is you're doing with it, there's a little down arrow. Again, it's very light, but it's in the upper right of the post. You click the down arrow. menu will pop up. You select link to post. You copy the URL that pops up, and then you share that URL, and it takes people, instead of sending them to your profile where they, you don't control what they're going to see, it sends you to that specific link. So that is just a very quick and easy way to do it. And Google's made it very easy, so that is always good to know. And as always with these, we've given you the links to go to Google for step-by-step directions. Google is a site that really does do the step-by-step directions well. So we've focused on why you should do this and what you can do. We've given you some guidelines along the way, but we haven't given you every single step. So look to Google for templates, for step-by-step directions. You'll see a link for that. You also want to be sure to learn about Google Insights. That's another useful feature. We've given you a link for that. And most of all, remember that everyone is learning. So you don't need to feel that you're behind. You don't need to feel that you should have done this 6 months ago. The brand pages, Google Plus only launched in 2011. Brand pages didn't come for, I think, a year after that. These graphic changes we've talked about are happening in 2013. So, this is all happening now. And if you start your site today, you're still really getting in on the ground floor of Google Plus. You're one of the early, maybe not an early adopter, but you're certainly one of the early users, and you have plenty of time to build your circles to make the most of the platform. So we then go into, and Carly, I don't know that we need to do this on this webinar. The PDF goes into some information about the Social Media Supercharger group, which we'd love for you to share with everyone you know, because our mission for the next month or two, we feel like we're ready now to start spreading the word and expanding the group. The last month or so, we've focused on getting the group set up, how are we going to work together, and the like. Now we're really ready to start inviting more people into the fold. So I don't think we...
No, I think the link is, basically, we're not going to waste your time in going through everything that we have. The best thing for you to do is know that our jobs, what me and Lynn do, is we do all the due diligence. We go find out the latest facts, the latest little things that are going on. We then put them into PDF slide shares for you so that you can access them beyond this video. Some people don't do well watching a video. They just want to hear audio. Some people do well just by reading. So we always have that. And we have a private group. It's a group that's just for the members only. And they get a lot of different benefits. We do interviews. We have special guests. There's just a lot of things that are coming up right now.